Welcome everyone to Asking for a Friend. Just like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land wherever you are today and pay our respects to their leaders past and present. So Asking for a Friend, if you haven't been before, is an initiative by Never Not Creative, supported by Youngbloods, ACTA and Mentally Healthy. It exists because we wanted to create a safe place for where you can ask the unaskable, the questions that you're worried may change the way people treat you at work or affect the opportunities that might be given to you. So bring industry leaders, mental health professionals together to give non-judgmental responses in a safe, anonymous environment. So before I introduce our guests today, a little bit of housekeeping. Please ask any questions over in the questions tab on the right-hand side. That will help us fill up this session. We've got about 5 or 6 questions that have been sent in beforehand, but please do ask your questions in those tabs so that we can get to them into the second half of the session. And also, if you do need more immediate help right now, then please do go and get professional support. There's a link that's just gone into the chat where you can go check out helplines, resources, whatever you need. But obviously, there's only so far we can take you today. So a caveat with that is that everything that we do with Never Not Creative and Mentally Healthy is volunteer run. Essentially, it's unofficial. We're a bunch of people using community to come together and tackle the challenges that our industry is facing. So that in mind, also remember that this, with being anonymous, we don't have the full context for your questions. Everyone's situation is different. So hopefully the advice you do get today is something to consider as you also seek either professionally or casually from others, your own ways of getting help. So with that out of the way, I'm delighted to welcome back Katie Feder, who has been with us on Asking for a Friend before. Katie is a registered psychotherapist working in clinical practice. She trained in process-oriented psychology, which integrates Jungian psychology and Eastern philosophies and offers a holistic understanding of the human psyche. Her belief is that we're all individuals and therefore so too is our best path to healing. Katie's passionate about emotional health and fostering well-being. She works from new sciences of the heart, brain and biology to help her clients to come into closer connection with their mind and body. She's had a multicultural life and called many places home, but for the past 9 years, that's been here in Australia and is also the mother of 2 beautiful children. Welcome back, Katie.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I always really love being here.
It's excellent. Well, and we've just found out that I've caused some amazing reunion. Wez and Katie have been reunited. So we also have Wez Hawes, is the executive creative director at Innocean Australia, transforming the agency to create more integrated solutions for its main clients, Hyundai, Kia, and No Ugly Wellness Tonics. He's passionate about ideas and the people that help to create them. Previously, Wez was ECD of CHE Proximity Sydney, where he led a creative department of over 50 people, plus high-profile accounts such as NRMA Insurance, Samsung, eBay, and IKEA, all under the full services agency's ethos of connected creativity. He's also a member of the Fuck the Cupcakes group, which is behind the Be the Change campaign that you might have seen recently. He's also part of our NNC Allies initiative, which is helping men be better and supportive allies for women and non-binary people. Welcome, Wez. Good to have you.
Thank you, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I think this is going to be really interesting. There's definitely going to be a bit of yin and yang between Katie and myself, the professional and the non-professional. But this should be very, very, very fun.
It'll be excellent. I may have to stop you going off to recollect stories of Bondi.
Well, I think we're going to try and weave in how we met into one of the questions or answers as well. I think it will actually might actually help explain one of the answers.
All right, excellent. Okay, so let's kick off. Katie, I'm going to come to you first.
Okay.
I'm a 34-year-old woman who was only diagnosed with ADHD last week. I'm feeling relieved I got diagnosed, but also really sad as I feel like if I'd had help earlier, I might have been more successful. I've had some small, really successful points in my creative career, but I've constantly heard feedback from managers and professors over the years that I'm inconsistent and not living up to my full ability. This is pretty crushing for me, especially when I'm trying so hard all the time. How can I get my confidence back with creative projects and work?
All right. So this is a question that you have shared with me in advance, Andy. So I've taken a look at it and I'm going to answer it in 2 parts, if I may. And the first thing that I want to speak to is at the beginning of the question when you said, I'm relieved, but I'm also really sad. And I can hear some self-criticism in there that you could have done things differently. And the thing that I want to say here is that we all kind of have a tendency for the current us to criticize the past us. But the thing is, I believe that the past us did the best with the information that they had to hand, right? I can look back today on my past and go, I shouldn't have done that. I didn't have all the information that I have now. So now that you've got the diagnosis and you're more informed, you can work with things in a different way and work with yourself in a different way. But I really want to encourage you to be self-supporting and self-serving and not self-critical. So look back on your story with curiosity, sure, but don't look back with criticism. So that's the first thing. There's actually Maya Angelou said, when we know better, we do better. You know, so you can't work with what you don't know. So that's the first thing. And now that you do know, you're asking in your question, how do I get my confidence back? And I think the thing with confidence is you've also got to look at what's blocking it. Like, I can tell you what confidence is on a kind of intellectual level, on a cerebral level, but for that to convert, I would really like to encourage this lady to be really self-supporting. So even in the language that you use and the way you talk about your story and you reflect to yourself, make sure that's really positive, not critical, but really positive, a little bit like what I was saying a minute ago about looking back. You might even sometimes it's a useful exercise to find all the evidence of all the stuff you've done really well. Like, write a list of all the things you've done really beautifully in the past 12, 24, 36 months. So you're beginning to reframe that in your own mind. And specifically, you said confidence with creativity. And my belief is that for your body to tap into a state, you need to do things that elicit that state. So outside of work, what are you doing that's making you feel inspired? What's making you feel creative? What's making you feel confident? And I think that with this new information and the new diagnosis, and it's also an opportunity to kind of reset, reframe, and start from a really positive basis, self-supporting basis, not self-critical basis, it's all to play for. And I wish you tremendous luck.
Excellent. Wez, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I kind of want to echo Katie's last points in particular. So this is something that this question really resonated with me, because I think, like, I'll be really honest. I see therapists. I'm kind of on the spectrum as well. My daughter, we're going for this in my daughter as well. So we think she's got an element of ADHD. So we're talking to therapists, and I talked to her a lot about it. She's 8, and the other day she even, she was really, really upset, saying, "Why am I different?" And we were talking about it, and I'm trying to reframe it with her the same way my mentors reframed it with me. And it's about, like, I keep telling her, this is your superpower. This is what makes you you. And I really think, like, this version of normal doesn't really exist for anyone, especially for creative people. We're all weird. There's all something about us that isn't perfect, that doesn't make us fit in. Our kind of job naturally kind of helps people like us. We kind of gravitate to this really weird job where people point us and say, have an idea. It's not a normal people can't kind of cope with what we're asked to do. So I've always reframed it, and I reframe it to my daughter as well. It's like, it's your superpower. It's what makes you you. She's really artistic. So there's definitely, I don't understand the science as well as Katie, but I really believe that creative people all have something about them that isn't this societal view of normal that makes them be able to do their job, and it's what makes us creative. And John Hegarty really picks up on this in his book, his autobiography, and his book about magic. But he says creative people are forced to look at the world differently. They can't be controlled or put in a box. And you invite them into a meeting, you've got to be prepared for the consequences. And this is what I said to Andy coming onto this. It's like, I'm naturally not normal. I'm a creative. I'm going to say something ridiculous, and you're going to have to put up with it. And I feel like, but I've always embraced that about myself and other creatives. I always give creatives a chance. So don't let it hold you back. Actually use it to, like, boost your confidence. And just one other anecdote as well. So I have a stammer, and this was I can really compare this to how you're talking about your ADHD as well. And I always was scared to do presentations. It was really holding me back until my ECD, he promoted us to creative directors when I was back at BBH. And he just said, look, he was talking about how well we were doing. He was like, oh yeah, you're the guy with a stammer. Don't give a shit about that. Just speak passionately, speak about what you know, and stick it to everyone. And it's the one bit of advice that's kind of stuck with me, even now. And this was like 10, 15 years ago. So I just advise you to use it as your superpower and reframe it in your own head as a positive. It's what makes you you, what makes you able to do your job so well.
I think
awesome.
that's
I could have sat here and just listened to that for another 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, me too, to be honest, Wes. That's gorgeous. It's lovely. And actually, you know, it's interesting because you said Katie will know more. Psychology, my degree is in psychology, which is diagnostic, but my master's is in psychotherapy. And the reason why I practice with psychotherapy is because it's non-diagnostic. Because it's not really, to give it a label is to make a load of assumptions. And as you've just said there, that they're nothing but assumptions. And to actually see it and hold it in your own interpretation of what it is, which is a really powerful, unique kind of essence. I think that was a really beautiful answer. I was smiling the whole time. You've gifted us all something. I
hope it helps. It's always easier when you draw on your own personal experience. Yeah. So this is the question that resonated with me most as well, because I've been there, I've been through it. I think it's about reframing it yourself and using it to fuel your career rather than hold you back.
I'm just going to pop a link in for this person as well. There is a group called the Hey Mate Project, actually in Byron, which I just realized I'm going to in a few days. I'm going to go and try and catch up with Amy. But they actually specialize in mental health and well-being for creative people. So go check out the Hey Mate Project, because they might have some things that could be useful for confidence and creative projects and all that kind of stuff. All right, so Wez, on to you next. How do you politely but firmly tell male industry peers not to refer to yourself and colleagues as girls? It is condescending and unnecessary, but difficult to rebuttal when they're from another company working on your project.
Okay, this question is really interesting. And I think before I'd embarked on this journey with Andy, I'm going to actually use a technique that you've taught me, Andy, on our Be the Change, Fuck the Cupcakes group. So this is a technique that we've outlined in the Be the Change campaign. You can go to bethechange.com.au to check out the actual technique itself. But it's a really good way of disarming men without having to be that confrontational. Like, men have got egos. We're quite hard to talk to. Me and Katie might differ slightly on this response or answer, but I found this technique really useful. And it's to kind of make the situation, just inject a bit of light humor into it to disarm, to kind of make it not a massive issue unless it needs to be. And that technique is to say, well, I don't know whether this is happening face-to-face or whether it's through emails, but either way, I think you can just say, come on, it's 2022. This is a technique Andy's taught me, and I think it's great, and we've used it in the campaign, like I said. Or you say, girls, ? Okay, granddad. Or you say, get out there, hey, these guys. I think, come on, it's 2022 is a really good way, or come on, X date, is a really good way of disarming and helping you get into the topic without having to get on the soapbox and be really confrontational with whoever is referring to you as girls. That could be the icebreaker. And then I think, depending on how the room takes it, how the person takes it, you can then just say, can you just call us team or everyone or whatever you want the pronoun to be, or even just say, just call us by our names. I think that would be a much more well-received way of you having that conversation without having to make it a big thing. Unless, of course, that kind of way of disarming or way of that icebreaker is met in a really negative way, then I think you can obviously escalate it to your leader or boss for them to have the conversation with whoever is referring to you as the girls. Do you want to add anything to that, Katie or Andy?
Yeah, sure, I will. Look, I really like that, Wez, and I haven't heard it before. And I think there are many, well, there are certainly a number of methodologies that you can use. So you could use humor, you could use all sorts of things, but there are two things that I would reinforce here. The first one is do it in a way that sets you up for success. So whether you're naturally, because it's got to be in your style, you know. So if you're naturally playful, or you've naturally got a sense of humor, or you know who these people are, you can read the room, you know whether email immediacy, one-on-one afterwards, in a group setting, in a public setting, and also how you can hold and embody the truth of what's there for you in a way that's going to elicit success. The second thing I want to say is, and I've spoken about this previously on Asking for a Friend, and truthfully, in my clinical practice, it's probably the number one. In fact, I would say it is the number one aspect that we all work with, which is boundaries, right? And a boundary is, it's simply put, an emotional boundary is a delineation between where I begin and end and where you begin and end, right? And a boundary is not there, actually. It's not about the other, it's about keeping me safe. And it's about me being an advocate for, these are the rules of engagement if we're gonna be in relationship in any way with each other, that need to be respected. And the only person who can hold those, articulate those, and convey those, of course, is me, because they're mine. So it might be, look, I don't want to be touched like that, or I don't want to be spoken to like that, or, you know, some obvious ones around, you know, physicality and so on. But it is really important for each of us that we can feel we can give voice to, advocate for our needs. And in fact, I've got this book. I don't know, I'm desperate to write a book. I don't know why. It's becoming more and more and more pervasive in my life. And the title of this book is called Reclaiming I Matter. And there are so many situations, professionally and personally, where we allow behaviors that make us feel uncomfortable, and we don't give voice to the truth of what's there because there's discomfort for us and it's challenging. Thank you, Nina. And this would be for me a further continuation of it, right? Oh look, I've got two buyers. I've got Sophie and Nina. There you go. But this for me is a further continuation of that, because you know, whether or not the three of us deem that to be something that is okay or not okay isn't the decider. It's for each of us to be an advocate for. I'm just communicating that this is where their boundary is for me. So in other words, that was quite a long answer, but I love what you had to say, Wez. If you naturally are playful and have humor and that fits with you, that for me is great. I've never heard that before. Do it in any way you want to do it, but please do it, because, you know, for us to go through life and not give voice to our truth diminishes our power, and it makes us feel smaller and less than. So it's, you know, reclaim your needs is my message here.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, like in the work that we've been doing over the past sort of 6 to 12 months, one of the things that we've certainly noticed is that you know, there's probably a bunch of people out there that want to be told, right? Like they actually don't want to make mistakes. And so hopefully, you know, it does get received well. The other thing I think you can do is do it in a safer space as possible. So you might talk about it with, you know, some peers or some colleagues or some friends, and actually you bring it up when they're around, as a way of going, well, actually, I know that I've got some people in the room that have got my back as well, and I think that can definitely help. So yeah, great answers. Okay, Katie, I'm coming to you next. Also, a reminder, please add. Oh, there is a question in the tab. We'll come to that shortly. If anyone else has questions, please add those in as well. Katie, I'm not getting a single break at work. I feel burnt out, but there are just more and more briefs and never a time I feel that I can ask for a few days off. How do I bring this up with my manager without feeling like I'm letting people down?
Well, this actually is a really good question to continue from where I was just speaking from, because what I was just talking about was basically reclaiming I matter is reclaiming your needs, being in connection with what you need. And in this question, I hear the emphasis on the other, what my manager needs, what my work needs, what my clients need. I'm not suggesting that that's not important, but that, hello, let's hold that in balance with equal, in fact, more importance for what it is that you as an individual need. And you as an individual are saying, I need rest. So I think what you are doing really is just articulating that need when you go in and sit with your manager. And you can frame it in the wider context of, this is what I need. This is what I need to enable me to show up in the most productive and efficient way for you. I appreciate that at the moment there's an awful lot going on. How can we make this work so we both get our needs met?
Great. Wes?
Yeah, again, this was a really good question. I'm sure it's one of those questions that kind of affects most people as well, like especially the industry, the way it is these days, and how burnt out we all feel. But again, I'm going to draw on my own experiences. But I used to work somewhere where the timings were insane. 3 or 4 pitches on at at the same time regularly. Weekend work was expected. Big turnaround briefs wanted to be, had to be delivered in days rather than weeks, and people just burnt out. I could see it, and I was kind of running the department, but I had other people above me, and the whole attitude of the whole agency and the success of the agency was built on, we're going to burn people out, but they're going to make their best work, and I just hated it. It was horrible, and it was only when I left and I was working at the agency I'm at now, and I had a real supportive CEO, and we had the same beliefs as well. That kind of that belief system was absolute rubbish, and I firmly believe you don't need to burn people out to make your best work, and we're proving it now. We're attracting so many creatives that have been burnt out, that have had mental health issues from being tasked and being asked to work so much, and we've now developed this philosophy and culture where people get time to work on stuff. We have days off for people where creatives are free just to go off and think about stuff again. It's like, it seems so simple, but it's really helped build this culture we're building at Innocean now. We get time to craft, and it feels like an old school philosophy, but it's insane. It's just giving time back to people, being respectful of people's personal lives, especially parents as well, and trying to get more kind of mums and dads back into the industry. And it's a safe haven, and it's been really well received, and I'm finding it as a really strong recruitment tool as well. I'm always having to cuddle people as they come through the door. I'm like, it's okay, it's a safe space. And we're allowed to push back on our clients and suits when they're asking for work. We're not quite ready. We push back a few days, and nothing happens. I've never had that kind of freedom, and it all comes from my CEO Jazz, who supports everything we're doing here. But I think it's because we're at the top, and we can instill that culture. And I don't know. I find it really tricky. And I was like the ECD, but I couldn't hold off. I couldn't protect my team enough, and I really think it comes from the top. So like, this isn't the best advice, but I think you need to find somewhere that kind of respects people, respects time, and doesn't feel the need to, be busy all the time, to be gung ho and to go and get it. I firmly believe you don't actually get to your best work that way around. And there is another way, and we're doing some great work at Innocean. We've got some great briefs going through, and we're doing it in a way that is respectful to the people we work with and the creatives, and we enjoy ourselves. It's fun again. I haven't had that for quite some time. So I don't know. I guess my advice is just, try and do what you can within your organization. But if it doesn't work, I think it's enough to look elsewhere. probably not the right, the
I
right legal advice, but
I think it is, Wes. I think we've got to back to, as I answered the ADHD question. As we go through life, we're constantly gathering information, and when you're able to show up in a boundaried way, and you're able to claim your needs, and you know that you matter, and you step into the conversation in a respectful, clearly articulated, confident, and even conscious way, that person, that boss, that company will show you who they are. And then you have more information. And that additional piece of information will show you, well, I can stay here in a healthy way, or I can't be here in a healthy way. And then you can make another choice. So in any case, it's worth having the conversation. And if they can't meet you there, then that is as informative to your ability to care for yourself as if they can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense.
I think we're starting to hit that tipping point, are we? Where it used to be a badge of honor to work and work and work and work, and now it's not so much. In fact, we're starting to have a little bit of frowning happen. People are realizing that actually there is greener grass on the other side to be able to find a place, whether it's in Ocean or there's lots of places now that realize that they're going to lose people unless they actually start to sort out their systems and their processes and the culture and the belief that they put into people. So I think what you both said as well is, like, you've got to find the place that's right for you, and it's okay. Don't feel guilty about leaving somewhere that isn't right for you. Okay, Wes, back to you. I'm a female art director. Our leadership team is stacked with men. I don't really want to have to leave, as I've made so many great friends at this place, but I can't see a way through. How do I make CD?
Okay, this one I really had to think about and try and offer the kind of right advice that would work for the person submitting this question. So I'll try and do my best because obviously every situation is varied, and there's a few different ways of doing this. But I think first and foremost, you kind of need to find the right person to have a chat with first. I would go for whether that's the CEO you get along with the best, or the CCO, or the ECD, who can kind of, someone within that team, I think, that can raise your concerns. I think that'd be the best way to do it, first of all, rather than go into the room and simply address everyone and tell them your demands or point out the obvious. But I feel like there was a phrase in your question which I think you can kind of build the solution around. So our leadership team is stacked with men. I feel like just raising that and pointing it out is kind of enough. It's like, if they don't understand that this is kind of wrong for 2022, then there's something kind of not quite right with the organization. So I'd use that as the basis of the chat and point out the many disadvantages of an all-male leadership team. There's so many, but it might not be obvious to them, but obviously it's blinkered and rife with unconscious bias, something Andy and I are learning really a lot about in our allies group and Be the Change campaign. And I guess it's a way of pointing out you urgently need more diversity and a different point of view in this leadership team or the room. But also it's incredibly dated, and it doesn't look great for that organization. It doesn't make them feel very progressive and modern. So externally, it's not the best look as well. These are just a couple of things I think you could raise with that person you trust the most within that group. But I guess that again, I always like to have an icebreaker, and I think a way in to start talking about it would be to ask that one person you trust the most, are there plans to expand or address the balance of the team to include more women? I think that's a really nice icebreaker and a way of kind of disarming the situation. Again, I'm always about not going in confronting so head on, but to try and help the person you trust the most or the leadership team address the issues you have. So that's like volume 1, part 1 of how I think you start having that conversation. You ask, are there plans to expand or address the balance of the team? Because there might be. If there aren't, then I think you can take it. You can kind of take it to phase 2 and start talking about the negative effects of having a leadership team stacked with men. But it's kind of ridiculous that they don't know this. It's 2022. They should understand this themselves. I'm quite sure they must be someone within that group must be conscious of the fact that there are no women in the group. It's bonkers this day and age. But then I guess the second part of the question is, how do you yourself make the jump to, I think it was to CD or to join this leadership group? I feel like you need to then suss out a plan and work with your boss and talk about KPIs, goals, timelines. I'm not sure of your relevant circumstances, whether you're smashing it and you straight away deserve to be part of this leadership team, or whether you're, a few years away. I obviously I didn't get that from your question, whether you feel you're up for it already or whether you just wanted to have the chat to broach it. But I think you need to go in there kind of armed. I'd highlight your achievements, value, and what you bring to that position, the organization. I'd have that before you actually have that chat, one-on-one chat. So kind of the second part is, I think you need to be ready yourself and have the necessary experience and credentials to make the step up. I'm assuming you're not a junior and you want to just become a creative director. I'm assuming you're a senior and you think you're ready to make that step up. So I'd be prepared to back up your claims with the value you bring to that organization before you tactfully make that really obvious point that, guys, you need some women in this leadership team because it's kind of ridiculous. I'm sure Katie can answer much more articulately than the way I just fumbled.
No, it was good. What I heard you basically saying, and what we haven't got in the question is, how much information do you currently have? I'm asking this to the lady who's asked the question. Like, how much information do you have about why things currently look the way they look, and how much scope is there for them to change? So one thing that's just come to me is there's a 4-part framework that I can share that she might like to use. In fact, any of you might like to use. This is also good for the question where they were being called girls. So there's 4 parts, and I'll role model it for the lady. I notice, I imagine, I felt, and I wonder. Now, what I like about this is you'll notice every sentence starts with I. So it's much softer. As soon as I start a sentence with you, the thing is about this company. The thing is about you. You are instantly, you probably notice your attack, defense, it's over. Right? But as long as I'm claiming my position, I notice this, I feel this, much softer, right? The first 2 are about the other. So I'm showing that I have empathy and I have the ability to see beyond myself. And the second 2 are about myself. So it might sound a bit like this. I noticed that our leadership team is male dominant. And I imagine, and then tell the truth of why you imagine that to be. I imagine that whatever you think it is, at that point in time, we had more males, or we had more people who were ready for promotion, or your network was more, just whatever you imagine the truth of that to be. And then claim what is the truth here about how you're feeling. Is it that I feel that I deserve to be on that team? Because she hasn't given us this information in the question? Or is it, I feel concerned about this because I'm wondering about my future here? Or is it, I feel, tell me the truth of what's here. What is it that you're holding here? And then with the I wonder, this is going to give you the opportunity to see how close you can get to this thing. So I wonder if you see me in that position too. I wonder how long it might be until you see me there. I wonder what I might have to do to get there. I wonder how likely that is in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So it's much softer way. So after having that conversation in that framework, the idea is it's information gathering, because that'll tell you, that'll help inform you, this is somewhere that I have a future and that I can stay and that I am understood and that I am heard. Or, no, it isn't. So even that same framework with the, it's not as playful as yours, Wez, but again, this is why you've got to do it in your style, right? For me, it probably wouldn't for me, the joking wouldn't work because it would be incongruent with how I was feeling. And it would come across as disingenuous. So I'd probably go with more like, I notice you keep referring to us as girls, and I imagine it's because you think that it's fun or it's flippant. But I actually feel incredibly upset by that, and whatever you feel by that, disrespected, whatever it is. And I wonder if I could ask for that to stop. That's how I would do it. But, you know, we've all got, it doesn't matter how you do it, but the point is set yourself up for success. So hopefully that is a useful framework. And I wish her luck. It will be interesting as she steps towards that conversation to see how it's received.
Brilliant. I think that's very helpful. I'm just going to pop it into the chat if anyone wants to copy and paste it into their.
We might read campaign brief about a female has been promoted to a creative director, and we'll be able to work out who it is for the next month or so.
That would be wonderful return on investment.
And let me know if you use the framework. It's really good. It's very yeah, there you go. I know someone. It's so good. It's really
it's great.
It's really good. It's a really powerful one. I use it all the time. I use it in my personal life. I use it in all sorts of places. It's really good.
All right, we're going to stay with you, Katie.
Okay.
I am constantly doubting myself. It's a never-ending feeling that stops me from applying for jobs, meeting people. I know I need to get over it, but how? Okay.
Well, I'm sorry that you have a very loud, what we would call in therapeutic terms, inner critic. And we all have one. And they tend to be really bullish and very mean and desperately more unkind and ruder and judgmental than to ourselves than they would dare be to anybody else. One of the things that might help is to get to know your inner critic. You know, truly write down what it says. Write down how it feels. Write down when he or she is coming up. It can help just to almost give your inner critic a name, like give it an outfit. Imagine if this was not in your mind, but this was actually the physicality of a person dressed next to you. Like none of us would get anything done. Imagine if I had mine here. They're going to hate. They're not going to like what you're saying. Wes sounds so much smarter than you, Katie. Andy's judging you. He's not going to ask you back. You can't see the faces of any of the people on the screens. Maybe they hate absolutely everything that you're saying. Who are you to give this advice? How long have you been doing it? Do you think they're going to trust you? Like, oh my God, I'd be in a white coat rocking back and forth. And we all have one, right? We all have this inner critic. Now, the thing about your inner critic is that it was birthed from unconscious wounds and hurts. So in truth, I would suggest to you that you get to know him or her, and you might like to work with somebody like myself or a professional. You don't need many sessions, but just a few to understand what are the origins of that? Whose voice is that really? Where did I learn that? Why am I still speaking to myself in that way? And how can I work with that differently? Because in and of itself, we all have one, but they remain very powerful until they don't. And it's incredibly helpful to work with somebody else because it's so, it's unconsciously held, and it also feels so true to us. You know, would you say any of these things to a friend or even an enemy? My guess is no, you would not, right? So how do I begin to bring in the other voice on the other side that she says, you know what, Katie, you're doing a great job. Wes has laughed at all your jokes.
easy crowd.
Andy's smile looks genuine. The fact that they can't see you is brilliant because you've had so many smiley faces on the chat. And this color makes your hair look sensational, right? Which one of those two narratives that I've role modeled is true? It's the one you tell yourself, right? Which is why people say you're the stories. We are the stories we tell ourselves. So the really mean inner critic is dominant in you at the moment, or dominant in who sent this question through. So in order to work with them, get to know what they're saying, maybe work with somebody else and begin consciously to catch yourself and go, oh, hang on a minute, I'm fueling this one. How do I fuel this one? In fact, let me give a quick analogy, if I may. I'm just questioning whether or not I may have used it before, but in any case, I can't remember, but it's just such a simple way of speaking to this. So there's a fable of the two-headed wolf. I don't know if either of you know this one. And do you know it? You might know it as parents. And one of the, I'll make it relevant to this example, you know, one of the heads is really mean, it's really damning, it's really critical, it's really self-deprecating, it's really insecure, it's really constricted, it's really fearful. And the other head is this beautiful, buoyant, heartfelt, loving, joyful, confident, self-supporting cheerleader, you know, in the corner. Two heads, one body. And the grandma's introducing this story, and the grandson goes, oh, but which one leads? And the grandmother says, the one you feed. Isn't that lovely? So, yeah. So just, I would say to this individual, just stop. When that voice is raging, just stop, because it's not the truth of what is there. Ask yourself, hang on, who's speaking? Is it my critic or is it my cheerleader? And what would my cheerleader say now? Because attention or energy goes where attention flows. So we've always got both. We've always got both energies. And I would encourage you to start getting to know your cheerleader, who will help hold your critic in balance too.
Excellent. Have you ever had that feeling, Wez? Where
oh God, like everyone struggles with issues of self-belief, self-doubt. It's almost like there's a bit of imposter syndrome there. But again, it's like this really feels like there's a parallel to the first question we were asked as well. But I feel like that's it's just normal. It can kind of fuel you as well. And the only people that don't have this voice, this negative voice going through them, are psychopaths. That's it. I feel like all the best people have this kind of a little bit of self-belief. I think what Katie said is brilliant. It's about paying lip service to it and respecting these kind of negative voices, but really trying to focus on the positive. But yeah, I've never met anyone I've liked that didn't have a little bit of self-doubt or lacking a little bit of self-belief. It's natural, everyone. I have it coming on this call. I have it waking up every day. I'm in an edit suite now for a massive job, and I'm constantly doubting myself. I see the first edit and it rocks, but I'm still like, oh my God, I need to go back in a minute. And I need to try and fix a few things. It's constant, right? But you need to, like what Katie said, I'm trying to feed. Here's the other wolf. I'm trying to feed the good-headed wolf and try and lean on the positive side and believe in myself a bit more. So that everyone has this. If you don't, there's something wrong with you, seriously wrong with you.
That's actually correct. Sorry,
yeah. It's also a job, isn't it? Of just like you put so much of yourself into your work that therefore everything reflects you. That can really make such a big difference to how you can perceive success and the work you're doing. All right, we've got a couple of questions that have come in. So we'll start with this one, and I think you'll both have great answers, but I'll come to you first, Wez, and then we'll go to Katie. So how can I help people who reach out to me about their personal mental health issues? So I think there's a lot of stuff in our industry at the moment. We're encouraging people to speak up. And actually, I think it's really good to get an answer to this one for the people that are getting approached around, hey, I need some help.
I might need a bit of help from Katie here. Like, I can only talk about my personal experience, but I like to believe I'm an ECD and my office door's always open. And the way, how do I help people reach out to me about that? I like to go and sit with my team. I like to go out just for coffees with them. We jokingly call these awkward coffees at Innocean. You actually can claim these awkward coffees back if you go out with someone kind of beyond your team. But generally, I like to just get in every day and I'll just go and chat to someone, sit with different members of the team, and just take them out for coffees, and we can just chat about anything. And that time is just that time for me to be with one of my creatives and for them just to bring up anything they want to talk about. And I'm just trying to learn to be someone that just listens and can create that space for people to talk to me. Like I've not got the expertise, nowhere near the expertise, if you haven't worked that out already from the last 45 minutes as Katie.
You're very wise, though, Wez.
I'm just really learning to listen. And I think that's an art. And my wife is always working with me to be a better listener as well. Like I can see there's probably a few of my staff here. Sometimes, sometimes they're talking about figures and stuff like that, and they've got this joke about my eyes glazing over. But when it comes to issues, when I think there's someone who wants to open up to me, I really just try to give them my full attention to create a space for them to feel like they can tell me whatever they want. And based on that, I've got real great support at Innocean. We've got a really great HR team. I've got someone, Jazz, a great CEO, backs and supports me in everything we do. And we would do as much as we can to get that person help or to guide them on how to speak to someone like Katie rather than me try and dive in and offer advice. I think listening is the number one thing I can do. And then I probably would need to withdraw and take it away and seek expert advice, depending on the problem, unless there's something I can do as a friend or as a boss or as a mentor to help that person.
Brilliant. Katie?
I think you've nailed it, Wes. The thing is, how can I help people? So for me, the main word there is help. And I would say, let's define help. Is help fix? No. Is help solve? No. Is help project onto what you think? No. Is help support? Yes. So how can I support people? Well, you support people in all the simple human ways that we know enable us to feel supported. Being listened to, somebody being fully present with us, somebody just making space in a non-judgmental way. When I'm with clients, in fact, one of the most important aspects of therapeutic work is that you leave with your answers. It's not a Katie opinion. It's not a Katie view. It's not what I would do. I'm there in a very different way. I'm there to do exactly that, to hold that space in an open way that you feel emotionally safe to explore what's there. And always, what you take away is your own. Like, of course, I'm trained with different tools and trips to help you connect in with your own wisdom. But the wisdom is always yours. The wisdom is always yours. So, open questions are really good too. When somebody comes and they say, this is happening, make sure you're not fueling your own curiosity, but you're helping them. So something like, why do you think that's so triggering for you? Why is that so important for you? Why is that so upsetting for you? What is it in that is disturbing you? What are you longing for? Anything that keeps that just holds that space for them. So listening is a whole nother thing. I've run trainings on it. Most people think that they listen and most people do not. So I think the less you actually do, because I would also say this, when we're trying to do something with it, although our intentionality is right, the execution is off because we're actually making it about ourselves. And it's not about ourselves, it's about the other. So it's not mine to do anything with. It's just, I'm here to support. How do I help? I support. I'm present to you and I listen to you. And I walk alongside you with non-judgment.
That's brilliant. We do have lots of resources on mentally-healthy.org, of which I just found one, which is from Beyond Blue, on how to have a conversation with people at work. So I'm just going to drop that into the chat as well. That was excellent advice. Thank you. The other thing, I think the thing you really did bring up is that it's really easy when someone comes to you with something to want to fix it. And it's not our job to fix. It's just a job to listen, validate, point you in the right direction. And that's, I remember doing work with Mitch Wallace, who runs Heart of My Sleeve Foundation. And he said, it's not a business's job to fix someone's mental health. It's their job to not make it any worse and point them in the right direction so they can get the support and everything that they need. So, yeah, there's some great stuff there. All right, we have another question. So, Wez, we'll come back to you on this one. Oh, did I start with you on the last one? I forget. I did, didn't I? Let's go to you, Katie. Okay. I always need to be accomplishing something, even if it means sleepless nights. I work 60 hours a week, building a house and in a serious relationship. I feel so exhausted on a physical level. No one tells me to be this way. So how do I learn to say no to myself?
Okay. So in my work, of course, there's what's happening on the top, which is doing. But always we're looking at what's underpinning that. And so without working with you, Beverly, I don't know. But my assumption would be that there's a program running there. And that program, if it were a microchip that's gone into your unconscious, sounds something like, I have to do to be of value. Now, if I were to work with you, we would very quickly get to the origins of where that comes from. And, usually if we say, who did you have to be in your family of origin to be a good girl? We very quickly get there, right? This is something that I can relate to tremendously. My dad was a businessman. My family was very much about external achievements and accomplishments, and we're all wired to attach, right? We're all wired to be loved. So how did I get love and recognition? Oh, when I did something, when I achieved something, when I accomplished something, If I'm just over here in the garden looking at a snail, not so much, right? So very quickly, my conditioning is I am good when, right? Or I have to be of value. So I get my sense of, for a long time, I got my sense of self, my sense of accomplishment, my sense of achievement in a day based on a lot of externally held metrics, which were things that I achieved. Look how good I am. I have a clean house. I have this, I have this, I have this, right? Where we want to get to for peace is balance. So to hold that demonic belief in balance, and I call it demonic because it's like getting things done is like a fire, right? Imagine you've got this fire in your belly and it's this beautiful kind of nurturing imbalance fire, and you can cook from it and you can create from it. I mean, you're building a house from it, you're having a relationship from it, you're working from it. It can be really positive. So when it's in balance, when it's not in balance and it rages out of control, it will burn the house down. So how can I hold it in balance? Well, I need the opposing belief, and an opposing belief to I have to do to be of value would sound something like I'm going to put a new program in that says I am enough as I am. Now, if I just tried that on for a minute, right? Like if I genuinely believe, in fact, I invite everybody who's listening, just in this moment, just try it on for a minute, like you are enough as you are. Now, suddenly, if I'm enough as I am enough. Whether I have ADHD or I don't have ADHD, I am enough. Whether I have the conversation about being called girls or I don't have the conversation, I'm enough. In fact, I can have the conversation because I'm enough, because my value isn't contingent on what you think it is and how I'm showing up. I'm enough. I'm enough to have the conversation at work about needing time out, because I don't need to be forever working for you 365 days a year to be of value, because I'm enough. So I get very passionate about this as well. And I've just caught myself. I'm like, how long have you been talking, Katie? And is it time for a pause? But the guts of this is something that you absolutely can work with. But again, it's not just cerebral intelligence that you onboard. It's really deep self-reflection about where is that coming from and how can I hold that in better balance.
Excellent. Wes, anything to add?
Oh, God. Beverly, I feel you. This is my life. And I'll be really honest, I've had about 10 therapy sessions answering this specific question. And Katie just gave me, I could have saved so much money if I just met Katie in a park. This is how we first met. And you just distilled the last minute of five minutes for me. It makes sense. This is me, Beverly. I am this dog that just can't stop doing stuff and can't ever rest. But I mean, I had lots of sessions trying to understand why I just every Saturday morning I'd wake up and we had to achieve, come on family, let's go and do something. Otherwise the weekend's a failure. Or if I haven't done this today, I sleepless nights, everything. And then the trick that worked for me, and this is kind of more, this is, God, I don't know if this is the right advice to give, but this worked for me. Okay. So I told myself all this stuff I wanted to do, all this stuff I wanted to achieve, I can't do unless I rest, asleep, and do nothing. And I started learning about LeBron James, who let's face it, he's achieved a lot more than some of us. He's doing okay for himself. But the number one thing he puts down to his success is sleep. He's religious about his sleep and rest and doing nothing. So for me, again, it's that superhuman strength. What keeps me, my superhuman power, embracing it? What do I need to do in order to do all these amazing things you're doing? Do nothing. That's the best thing you can do. So when you kind of let go of that guilt, when you're actually doing nothing and just spending time with your kids, just looking at snails in the garden or just laying down, staring at the TV, it's awesome. That kind of time and rest is fueling you to go again and achieve all this stuff you want to achieve. And it was a hard lesson that took me 10 therapy sessions and about $2,000. And I finally can kind of relax a bit more and be at ease with doing nothing.
That is brilliant. Also, this is, as you've both kind of said, actually entirely normal. The research that we have from Mentally Healthy told us that the number one stressor for people is the pressure of their own expectations. And it's funny because, we are in an industry sometimes where we feel like we're being told that we have to, work hard to stay hard. But actually, if you were to just question that a minute and turn around and go, wait a minute, I think maybe it might be me telling me to do that. And so, you do have the opportunity to just kind of say no to yourself now and again, which I think is excellent. I love just getting to do nothing. That is, I live for the opportunity when that comes along.
And to value it, I listened to this great podcast, and I forgot who it was, but it was an American trainer, and he trains all the top athletes. And he was saying, the only reason you train is to elicit the rest and repair response. Because in the rest and repair, the muscles are strengthened and rebuilt. And I spend my life training athletes to focus on rest and repair, because that's where the real strength and potential comes from. And I thought, wow, as a society, and of course I'm thinking about it not in the physicality of the body, but in the kind of emotional body and all the people I work with, we are so conditioned, aren't we? It's so pervasive. I think it is slowly beginning to change, but this idea of external achievement and acquisition is so heroed. And we've really lost the art of self-care, which is an expression of self-love, which without holding that, you can't hold yourself in balance in anything in life. And these questions are just examples of it. So really good question.
Okay, well, it is 1:30. If you do have any more questions, you can always pop into our Discord, which I will just pop into here, bit.ly/Discord. And there's a whole community of people over there, and we can jump in and either hold it over till next month, or we can there's definitely a few people with ADHD in our community who are happy to talk about it. So thank you to both of you. I'm glad I managed to facilitate this fantastic little reunion that you just had as well.
We didn't get our story in there, Wez, but
Yeah,
you know,
sorry.
we might put an invite back. We'll hold that one up our sleeve just in case.
I think we would definitely look to book in another reunion and invite back. So it's been great to have you both today. Yes, you will get a recording link after this, but also it goes straight into, we'll get it up on the Never Not Creative website as well, so you can check that. And also all of the recordings from every Asking for a Friend we've ever done is also up there. We're also working on a library of Asking for a Friend questions. So we're breaking down all these videos and putting them in so you can actually just search burnout or ADHD or getting promoted, and you'll find all the answers from those sessions. So we're working on that at the moment. Great. Thank you very much. Get back to whatever you're up to. Edit Suite.
Thanks, mate.
Get back to my holiday.
Enjoy the rain, bud.
It is better now. It's blue
great.
skies, and I'm back off to SeaWorld. So I will be heading back. All right. Thank you very much once again, and hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for the
having
questions.
me.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.